Hey, what is up, guys? My name is the Ear God, and I am the creative director of the Within Range podcast. If you're thinking about getting into podcasting, I feel like this would be the perfect video to watch. Take it from three guys that have never been in the podcast space before, 4 years in, and 96 episodes that are recorded. We've learned a lot of things on the way, and I feel like we might be able to share some experiences that maybe you can help get yours started. Now, when it comes to podcasting, we have two main elements that you need to worry about, which is audio, which I feel is the most important thing. It's the way that you can communicate with your guest and be able to capture the emotion. And then you also have video, which is to be able to see the visual aspect when it comes to something funny, something serious, or sharing an emotional message. And also too, everybody likes video. For us, it's a little bit different. There's an added element that we had to take into account when we first started doing the podcast, which is being remote. So I live in Indiana, and our main home base of operation is located in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where Dom and Jared live. And that's also where majority of our guests get filmed at. So when we put this podcast together, we had to find a way to be able to communicate and be able to capture everything seamless, where it seems like either I'm just in the next room or I'm even in the same space. So if you're starting a podcast, most of the time you want to do everything within the same building. So if it's just you by yourself, or if you're with a friend, or if you have guests, or if you have multiple people, to keep it simple, maybe you can just start with your iPhone, which is actually what I'm recording this video on right now. You can use the built-in audio camera. It does sound good to a point, but if you want to be able to elevate the audio quality, I would recommend getting a microphone, something like this, like a DJI Mic 2, something that you can enhance the audio experience, and it's wireless. So when it comes to recording the podcast, we utilize video and we utilize audio. For the audio side, we have 4 different microphones. We use 3 Shure SM7Bs, which is what we use for myself, Dom, and Jared. You'd see that typically on a lot of podcasts, like the Joe Rogan podcast. And then for the guests, we use a Rode Podmic. That was one of the first microphones that we did pick up, and we've just used it because it still sounds good and it still holds up. When it comes to capturing audio, we use 2 different audio interfaces. Dom and Jared use a Audient Evo 8. It's very simple and easy to use and has enough inputs to have multiple guests. For me, I use a UAD Apollo. It's a lot higher quality of an interface, but only because I got that for recording music, as I am an audio engineer. So how do we record all the audio? Well, we use Pro Tools. So I have my own Pro Tools session that I record in, and Dom and Jared have their own session they record in as well. So what ends up happening is, after the podcast is done recording, Jared sends me the files and I'm able to condense everything down to one big session, so that way it's easy to manage and it's easy to sync up. When it comes to video, we use Link2 web cameras by Insta360. They're really great high quality cameras that do record in 4K, and it does come with a software that you're able to manipulate and change some of the parameters to get the best quality of video that you possibly can. We have used mirrorless cameras in the past, and we have used iPhones, but we've had some sort of technical difficulties along the way during the recording of the episodes. So using webcams, it's really nice because it's easy to set up on a computer, and we're able to record them directly on the 3 different computers that we do utilize while recording. So I have my computer, Jared has his computer, and Dom brings his laptop to record his camera. So how we have the camera set up, I usually have one on myself, Dom and Jared will have one on them, and then the guests will have their own camera. So we keep 3 cameras just to keep it super simple, and that way there's not a whole lot of files that are being sent back and forth to be able to make the edit happen. Since we do record remotely, we had to figure out a way to be able to do that together and be able to see each other. So we used a website host called Riverside. Riverside is really awesome because you can record video independently, and then it also records high quality audio in the same regard. The great thing about that is, if you want to keep it very simple and having less tools, you can actually use their studio suite to be able to edit your own podcast, and you can create different short form content, whether if it's 9x16, 16x9, which is wide angle, and you can even post it directly onto YouTube or your socials. Now that we got all that out the way, how do we put it all together? So I download the video files and I download the Pro Tools sessions. And first, before I even get to the video, I like to edit and mix the audio first, so that way it sounds good. And then I can separate the audio files into usually 4 different files. I usually will have the guest, Dom and Jared will be on one stereo audio file, I will be on an audio file, and then usually I do sound effects live during the recording of the show. So we'll have a 4th audio track that is for sound effects and the intro and outro music. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop onto my computer and I'm going to show you guys what a Pro Tools session looks like, and then I'm going to actually show you what a timeline looks like when it comes to putting it together in Adobe Premiere. All right, so this is what a typical Pro Tools session looks like. I am not on this particular episode. We just dropped this episode. It's episode 96 with Mega Ran. If I was on the episode, you would actually see more audio tracks. So you would see there would be 4 audio tracks for vocals, and then there would be extra audio tracks that you would see that pertain to the sound effects and the intro and outro music throughout the episode. So we have it broken down, and Jared is the very top audio track, then Dom is the next audio track, and then we have our guest. So the first thing I like to do when I get the session is I'll have a reference track of what their audio feed sounds like, and then what I'll do is I will sync their audio to that reference track, so that way everything sounds in time. The next thing that I'll do is I'll like to find where the actual episode starts. So in this particular episode, Jared always gives me a countdown, which he'll do a 3, 2, 1 count. So what I do is I find that particular space, and anything to the left of that countdown gets muted, so that way I know where my starting point is. So you'll hear it here.
3, 2, 1.
And then Dom will do his intro. And then at the very end, I would just like to find kind of where they do a little send off, and then kind of find a moment to where I can mute anything to the right, so that way I know where my stopping point is. So when you hear the audio, you'll notice that it does sound relatively low. It doesn't sound as punchy or podcast ready. I do that so that way I have control of the processing that I can do to get it ready before we sync it up to the video. So this is what you'll hear as the raw audio file.
He called nerdcore, and people were like, "Yeah, this is nerdcore," and I was like, "What the heck is nerdcore?"
Yeah.
And so, basically, nerdcore is my friend MC Frontalot describes it the best.
MC Frontalot, yeah, that's actually
I'm about to hit you with a dirty butt on this one. So MC Frontalot.
All right, so it sounds good, but it needs to sound better. So to the left here, you'll see these blue little icons here. Those are what are called plugins. In the audio world, we use plugins to enhance audio in different various ways. That's what you heard of just raw audio. There's nothing processed. And then here's the difference after I do the processing that I normally do for episodes.
He called nerdcore, and people were like, "Yeah, this is nerdcore," and I was like, "What the heck is nerdcore?"
Yeah.
And so, basically, nerdcore is my friend MC Frontalot describes it the best.
MC Frontalot, yeah, that's actually
I'm about to hit you with a dirty butt on this one. So MC Frontalot.
That's awesome.
You never.
So it sounds much louder, much more punchy. It sounds podcast ready, and it sounds very intelligible. You can hear every bit of detail of what they're saying. So typically what I do is when I export the files in a way where it makes it easier for me to stay organized and be able to navigate through my editing session when it comes to video. So what I like to do is Dom and Jared will be on one stereo audio track. The reason why is because they're both on just one camera, so I just like to say one audio track goes associated with that camera. So I will export Jared and Dom's audio, and then usually I'll do the guests separately because they have their own camera, and then I'll have my own audio if I'm on the episode, and then all the multiple tracks that I have for sound effects and music, that will go as one stereo track. So typically I'll have 4 audio tracks that are going to go into my editing session. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a quick second and I'm going to pull up the editing session in Adobe Premiere so that way you can see what the timeline looks like. All right, so here's what the editing session looks like. So here's where you see all the different clips and all the different assets that will go into the session. So typically what I do is I import the 2 videos. Dom and Jared will usually be video 1. The guest will be video 2, and then typically if I'm on the episode, I will be video 3. So what I like to do is, the great thing is anytime you get video, there's audio usually attached to it. So what I do is I sync up the new processed audio with those original tracks that are connected to the video, and then I find my starting point and then I find my end points, and then I try to make sure the audio and the video are the same length. So as you can see, at the very beginning, at the end of the episode, and the beginning of the episode, they all line up. Once I do that, I run a program. It's probably one of the best investments that I've ever bought. I use a subscription every single month for it, and it is called Autopod. And what Autopod is, it's a plugin that allows me to utilize AI to switch the cameras based on what the audio is doing. And the reason why that's so helpful is because typically if I were to do the camera switches manually based on who's talking, an hour worth of footage will take me about 4 to 6 hours, depending on how fast that I go and how complex those edits need to be. And that can take a lot of time. But the great thing about Autopod is what would take me 4 hours to do manually, that can do that for me in about 60 seconds. So for $30 a month, I feel like that is absolutely worth it, and it cuts down my editing time quite a bit. And it is pretty accurate too. I would say it's about 90% accurate, at least for me. I try to find ways to where it does the best job that it can based on what I give it. So after I use that plugin, and that's where you see all these little jump cuts here, once it's done, I insert the intro video, which is here at the beginning. So I just made it into a small video with the audio, so that way it's easy to just put one video file in the front. And then the next thing that I do is we do utilize name tags. So I make sure to copy these in every episode.
Jared Suter, Dom Juan. Your God is not with us today, but Jared is always with us in spirit.
And then I do have sound effects that I did add so that I'll copy and paste every single time that I do those name tags. If I am on the episode, I usually have sound effects, so the hand claps of when we introduce a guest will already be within the audio. But since I wasn't on here, I just have the sound effect that I always add in post during my editing session.
We are here with Mega Rant today.
Hey.
That's a great
Thank you
intro.
for
Mega
joining
claps.
us. Thank you for joining us, man. This
Thank
is
you.
huge. This is a big deal, and congrats.
So it makes it a lot easier to have those files already ready to go. That way I can add them into the session. Now, when you're creating your own podcast, it doesn't need to be this complex. It can be very short and simple where you hit record, let it record all in one take as long as you have the audio, and then you can hit publish on YouTube if you want to. To me, any particular extra effort that you do, whether if it's money that you add to make your process faster or the quality better or whatever you can do to enhance the experience, I feel like is going to go a long way. So when we first started doing the podcast, it was very simple. We did audio only. We didn't even have video. We used Google Meets to do the communication. We recorded on Pro Tools still had separate microphones. And then I just put the audio together, and then we thought of the sound effects later down the line and started incorporating that into the podcast. Once we got to that point, we felt like we were ready to do video. So we tried it out. We did using webcams. We've used iPhones. We've used a mirrorless camera, I think 2 different mirrorless cameras, and we've tried different things to see what worked for us. And through trial and error and having a couple episodes where it didn't work out the way that we wanted to, we made the best of it, used it as a learning experience, and now we're here now where we use web cameras to make it super simple. It's still high quality. We use great microphones for a great audio quality experience, and then we also still use these sound effects to just enhance the experience a little bit more and make it a little bit more comedic in some instances. That's how we put together a podcast episode, and it'll probably change and slightly go in a different direction, probably within the next season or 2, just based on the way that we've done before. So I hope you guys got some learning experience out of this. If there's any questions that you have or any recommendations that you want to learn more about how we put together a podcast, feel free to leave us a comment, but make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And if this is your first time watching us, stay within range. My name is the Ear God, and we'll see you on the next episode.